So what we are going to do now is make a new data store for these two ESXi hosts. I'd like to show you something right quick. This is the directory where my ESXi host 3 lives. Notice I've got my primary drive and I've got my other drive. Now let's look at 4. Notice I've got my primary drive there. It's actually a clone of 3. Actually, it's a clone of 3 and then another clone of 3. So, what is it? I got a new VMX file, but they basically cloned the VMDKs. What we have here, I mean, because it changed the names, I don't, strictly speaking, have precisely the same. I don't have a common VMDK. I just have two VMDKs that look very much like each other. If you wanted to have two ESXi hosts with a literally shared storage, you could do that. You could create a single virtual hard drive and then add it to the next host by adding an existing VHD, or sorry, a virtual hard drive that exists someplace else. In any case, so let's go back to my Win10 client as per usual. I'm going to pause again. I'll start this up, unpause as soon as I get into the interface. My host 3, host 4 is still thinking. I'll come back to it in just a minute. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I can go to my storage. This is my navigation pane over here. I can collapse the whole thing to give myself some more space to see here. I've got my task view, navigation task view, host. See if no, I have no recent tasks. I could actually minimize that because there's nothing to see. I've got a license that expires in about 60 days. So what I want to do is a new data store. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a new VMFS data store. I could also add an extent to an existing store. Say, for example, I have an existing store and I add some new hard drives. Add some more stuff to that, or expand, or even mount a data store that runs using NFS. So I'm going to select my device. Okay, click New, click Next. And I'm going to call that data store 3. I'm going to call this data store 3. My hosts 1 and 2 have a common data store they call data store 1. I'm going to call this one data store 3. Next. And I'm going to use the entire disk. It's 50 gigs of free space. Now it'll be 50 gigs of VMFS. Next. And I click Finish. And it's going to wipe, this is a warning, it's going to wipe the disk. Of course, mine, I have no problem here because it's already there. So now, boom. And there we see, I can increase its capacity, I can take actions on it. It's got a UUID that I can use for other purposes. I can go into my data store browser, and there's really nothing here. Create directories, move things around. Your VMs would live here. ISOs that you use to build said VMs, they would live here, etc. So I'll do this exact same thing on the other host right quick. Okay, so I'm going to create a data store. As you like, just same thing I did a minute ago. This system is being a little picky, shall we say, on me. For reasons that are not immediately obvious, it doesn't like to log in. I log in, it hangs up, I come back to it, I refresh, and boom, I go all the way in. So new data store. Create new, call this one data store 3. Next. next. And it's free space. Obviously, this is not the same device as before. Next. Finish. Yes. Datastore 3. There we go. So there's that. And you can see my my recent tasks. So let me do that. Boom. See, I can see recent tasks. I can't really resize this all that much. I can see how much capacity I have. Let me go over to this one right quick. Actually, let me go here. It may have hung up on me. Now, in data stores, I can see Datastore 150. This is my vCenter. I can see it's got about 40 gigs used, 100 gigs free. I can also see a copy of Datastore 1, two of them actually, essentially, using almost nothing. I can see what AMP2 is using. So I've got two different Datastore 150s. They are not the same device. If I wanted to do a to do vMotion with these two things, they would need a common data store. So the next thing I'm going to do is add these two new servers to my vSphere. So thanks, and we'll be right back.